Fake History of America 5 Mud Flood, Giants, Star Forts and Asylums. Let's investigate. In one of my previous episodes in America series, I showed you this cave carving and I was wondering what are these people doing. They put up their hands like this and I asked the question why. I didn't understand why. And especially they are even showing their palms, so it's something very important it seems. And then I received this comment from Baldemoro Singala. There are rock paintings all over the southwest showing 5 and 6 finger people. If you had 5 fingers you were human, 6 fingers meant you were a Nephilim cannibal. That's why people would hold up their hands to show that they were not cannibals. Interesting. So I looked at it again and it makes sense. Especially if you look at this other picture, which was from the same episode, where these UFO looking giants are kind of like hiding their hands. They don't want to show their palms, definitely. And they have these weird antennas looking like UFOs, but they are really hiding their hands. Why are they hiding it? Do they have 6 fingers? I also found this article from Ghost Hunting Theories, and it seems like the 6 finger people are not very uncommon. Here's one picture from Three Rivers, but it seems that they are also putting up their hands. Here's another one from Utah Newspaper Rock, with 6 toes. 6 toes from Chaco Canyon and 6 toes from Arizona, 6 fingers from France, 6 fingers from Mexico, from Chile, and another one from Mexico. But again, they are putting up their hands. So this is a little bit confusing because both the 5 finger people and the 6 finger people or giants are putting up their hands. So I'm not sure exactly what this is. If you know, please let me know in the comments below. The next set of pictures are from David from Whittier, California. And he made these nice shots about Emmanuel Church, and look at the mud flood windows. A typical Greco-Roman so-called colonial architecture designated as a church. You can see the mud flood windows here as well, and another nice shot. What's interesting here is that some of these windows have been built in. I'm not sure what they are trying to hide, but as Christians, they could hide anything. Christianity is one of the most subtle, most secretive secret society. And this is an interesting one because these 3 windows looks like out of line. You know what I mean? Here this is a ventilation window, you can see that. But these 3 windows, they are not. They have glass in it and they don't have the same size. So I'm not sure about that. Looks really weird. And it's the first Christian church built in 1923 in Whittier, California. First Christian church, and look at that architecture. Next up is a relic from Jane Doe, and this is apparently a rock carving. But I'm doubting this was carved because it looks like to me it was rather printed or, 3D printed or molded. I'm not sure. I doubt that this was carved. And she says that this was from the Nevada desert and lots of energy is coming from it. So the question we should be asking is who made this? Because it was definitely not Columbus Christoph and his mafia gang. It was definitely some kind of ancient people who lived in America. It could have been the Native Americans or some even older ancient peoples. Phrase 1 recommended for me to look into Penn Station in New York City. And I mean, what an architecture. Look at that. They say that this is an 8-acre structure, and with all of those details that we are used to from the Tartarian buildings, all the fine details and the big pillars, and yet this was standing for 53 years. And then it was demolished. Why on earth would they want to demolish such a building? This is standing strong as far as I can tell, but I think it was just for wiping off the lost civilization and the proof of it. As you can see, the building was standing from 1910 to 1963, so 53 years only, and the status is demolished in 1963. And here's another picture from the outside. Here's a picture from the inside with all the fine details. Wikipedia said that the station occupied an 8-acre, 3.2 hectare plot bounded by 7th and 8th Avenues and 31st and 33rd Streets in Midtown Manhattan. 33-degree Freemasonry. They give us all these signs. By the way, if you haven't gotten already, get your merch now because there is a 15% off discount for only 3 days. If you click on the top on the redeem button, you will see the code to get your 15% off. Valid through 9th of April. The following pictures are from Jesse Benson from San Diego, and he visited the San Diego Central Library Rare Book Room. And look at that giant book. This is the Blue Atlas. And I think I showed you this Tartaria map before, but it's interesting that you can just go into the library and have a look at it yourself in San Diego. And what I was really intrigued by is to find the Caspian Sea, and I wanted to compare it to what we can find now on Google Maps. So here's the Caspian Sea from this old map, and here is the Caspian Sea now. But it doesn't really seem to be looking like as it is on the old map. So perhaps it is the Black Sea, I'm not sure. But even if it was the Black Sea, then it is quite different. There's a small lake at the top of the Black Sea, and there is nothing here except of this very, very small pond. And if you zoom back out on the old map, we should see these two large seas, the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea. But we actually don't. Here is the Caspian Sea or the Black Sea. I guess it's probably the Black Sea. But then where is the Caspian Sea? So they did some kind of earthworks here, some kind of restructuring. It looks like it wasn't natural. Next thing I would like to look at is some star forts, and here is a recommendation. Here is the Wikipedia entry for the Castle Island in South Boston, in the Boston Harbor. And here are a couple of images of the star fort. So there is also a obelisk here, why not, and an old drawing from 1789. Here's an aerial view from the World War II times, and here is a Castle Island on the map. If you zoom in, we can really see that this is a star fort. Now, I haven't talked about star fort before in this channel, but I think it's time. You know, I think no one can really say 100% what they are for. So what we can say is only a guess, and I'm going to tell you my opinion. And again, this will be just an opinion. I think this was some kind of sacred geometry that was protective for the people within. That could be one option. I don't know why else would they build it in this way. It's definitely more difficult to, you know, create this star pattern, this star shape. You know, it's much easier just to build it in a square or round, but not in a star shape. So there had to be a reason why they built it that way. It could have been also a strategic way to kind of defend against enemies. Sentinels or watchmen would be standing on these edges and watching who's coming from different directions. I don't know. It's really up for guesses. Let me know what you think. Another recommendation from the same person, Star Fort at Dorchester Point, and this is from the Library of Congress. And what I noticed here is that there is this star. Now this is not a star fort, this is symbolizing the cardinal directions, you know, north, east, west and south. So I don't know what's the connection between the star fort and the cardinal directions, but I think that there is. And here's another recommendation I would like to have a look at, and this is a real nice one. Look at that. Now this is Fort Jefferson. It has 6 edges. It's a little bit asymmetrical. What's interesting about the star fort is that it's in the middle of nowhere. So look at this little island. It's called Bush Key, I guess, and or maybe it's Fort Jefferson, I'm not sure. And if I zoom out, you will see that this is in the middle of nowhere. You know, like Dry Tortugas National Park. What is that even? I'm not sure. And I'm still zooming out. I'm not sure where we are here. So there we are. It's at the edge of Florida, in the Gulf of Mexico, in the middle of nowhere. Why would you need a star fort in the middle of nowhere, right? I mean, I don't understand. If you do understand that, then please let me know. But my guess is it was probably a high hill back then. You know, and I talked about this before, that we have about 30 feet or 10 meter extra water on the surface of the earth after the big flood. And so under this, there could be lots of remainders of an ancient civilization. So it would be interesting to scuba dive here, and I'm interested to look into this Dry Tortugas National Park. Not sure what this is. Like, who would be visiting this, okay? Why is it a national park if you can't really visit it, okay? What are they hiding here? What is here? There is nothing, okay, according to the map. And there are no houses, no airports. so that you can land here, or no docks for ships to come in. And yet this is a national park. What's on this other island? This still looks like part of the national park here. And this is a lighthouse. Loggerhead Key. Again, who is living here? Just a lighthouse. You know, it just doesn't make sense. In the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, south of Florida, and on this little island there is one single lighthouse. You see what I mean? Does it really make sense to you? Because it doesn't to me. So I guess this shows that this was a peak of the old Earth before the reset. Otherwise it doesn't make sense. Now if you zoom out, I think it makes a little bit more sense. Can you see that? This is like a highland and this is the lowland here. These mountains are going up and yet it's already underwater. And this was a peak here. Next up, I'm going to look at an asylum from Kirkbride. And if you remember, I looked at an asylum before in one of my America video series. And I mentioned in that episode that that asylum created a boom for the whole city. And I was also suggesting that probably they were putting people there who were actually sane to reprogram them after the reset, because probably there were some people who didn't like the reset and they weren't the usual sheeple and they wanted to speak out, so they probably just dragged them and put them in an asylum. So here is the video from the proper people. They went inside the Kirkbride asylum, and apparently this was built in 1850, and I'm going to show you a couple of clips from this video. First of all, why would they leave everything behind just like that? Usually when people move out, they clear it after them, but it seems like it was just an ad hoc move and they left everything behind in chaos. Look, even the curtains are up, and of course we can see mud flood windows underground level and also a dome. Here's another bummer. They just left this wheelbed just outside of the asylum. You know, like they really didn't care. And they left the toilets there. Here's another interesting one. They just left this board there. Continuity of care. And on the board we can see discharge planning and community contact and church. What were they playing with here? Then they found this ancient tech and they didn't know what this is. I don't know what this is. So if you do know, please let me know in the comments below. What the fuck is this? And they left the clothes behind in boxes? Why did they hurry so much? And again, the old fireplace looking, not fireplace. We don't know really what it is for, but you can't see any chimney here. And it doesn't really make sense that they would build a fireplace from wood, and I don't see really an entry here for the wood either, so it could be some kind of free energy device. We don't really know. They left behind the straps that they were binding the truthers with after the reset. Now here's a very interesting one. They left here this book by Neil Postman, Amusing Ourselves to Death, Public Discourse in the Age of Show Business. And you can see here the people without head. That's what it is. People programmed to look at the television. They sit down and they lose their head. It's a death programming. You lose your mind, and most of the people who follow the news, they are brainless, they are headless. They created TV for programming. There's nothing good about TV, but why would they leave this book here? And why was it in the asylum? They left the bed sheets behind, all the furniture, and here is the entrance of the asylum. Look at that building, another Tartarian architecture, with the usual Greco-Roman colonial pillars. So we already established that the asylums were probably some sort of reprogramming institutions for people after the reset who were questioning too many things or wanted to speak up. And it just occurred to me, what if this prison under the dome, this flat earth where we are living, is also just an asylum for reprogramming people? What do you think? Let me know at the comments below. Okay, so that's it for me for today. Support me if you can, because this channel is completely community supported. Avoid the asylums, guys. See you in the next one.